welcome everyone, and thank you for joining our Storytelling to Influence Change webinar today. Myself and Michelle will be sharing some thoughts and ideas in today's webinar. So my name's Ken. I work for a company called Miuva that's like a systems thinking consultancy and advisory company, and our biggest piece of work is with Together an Active Future, which is one of Sport England's local delivery pilots. I've been working around place-based work and systems thinking work for a number of years now, and looking forward to sharing some ideas with you today. But the main person with all the expertise today is Michelle, so I'll hand over to her to just introduce herself as well.
Hi there, I'm Michelle. I am currently communications lead for Together an Active Future. So originally started out with sort of visual communications early in my career, doing a lot of graphic design and photography. Moved on to working alongside Ken at a leisure trust as marketing manager. And I suppose in that time we went through the pandemic and sort of realised how important storytelling was. And that really sort of shifted some of our work and thinking around storytelling. And that's led now to being here at TAF as the communications lead.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. So I guess one of the things that we've been learning and thinking about is that if people don't see the world differently, if they don't believe different things, if they don't reprioritize things, if we don't make different decisions, then everything's going to stay the same. And so those mindsets is a key thing that we're seeking to influence in our work. And I suppose what we're going to talk about today is how can you influence those mindsets of people that you're working with people within your organization, within your teams, but then more widely across other organizations and partnerships and collaborative networks. And I guess that's the art of storytelling. And so the aims of the webinar today is we're going to talk about why storytelling, and we're going to talk about how storytelling can help us make sense of complexity. We're going to talk about how storytelling can shift mindsets, and then we're going to move into some practical thinking, I suppose, about actually how do we begin to start to think more proactively about the stories that we're telling. And we've developed Together an Active Future, and Michelle and I have developed a framework for how we might approach storytelling and start to plan and be more thoughtful about the ways in which we present and talk about our work. And then some final practical things about actually delivering the story once we've developed it. So that's the plan for today. And just to kick us off, really, I suppose this, Marshall Ganz, who's quoted here, is developed a storytelling framework called Public Narrative. He's a professor at MIT in America, a university. And he talks about that stories not only communicate information, but fear and hope and anxiety. And it's that very nature of because we feel it, that we get the moral, not just as a concept, but as a teaching of our hearts. There's like a deeper connection around values when we use the power of storytelling. And so that's what we're going to try and talk about today. So just to start us off, we know that we learn better once we've had a chance to engage and to think and to share some of our own thoughts. And so we're just to start off today, we want people to get into the mindset and thinking about stories.
For me, I thought I'd share an example. Recently, we were at Together an Active Future. We hosted a full sort of conference, a Strengths Collab, which was a huge conference, hundreds of people. It was a full day full of workshops, full of information, case studies, and there was quite a lot going on. And at the end of the day, Ken doesn't know I'm going to tell this story actually. Ken was doing his closing speech, and he told quite a personal story about how someone in his life had really connected with his son and inspired his son to really embrace his strengths. And it was a really nice story that's really connected with me. Which sort of leads us on to think about so why not lead with facts? Why not lead with information, data and facts? So we are as a society inundated with information, from emails, from work, from the news. Your mobile phone is following you around with your constant notifications and messages, so that there's a lot of information to process all the time. And people can easily forget numbers, but it is said that you can remember characters and emotions. Now, cognitive science, some very smart people have decided that we are 22 times more likely to remember stories than facts alone. And that is because they engage with multiple areas of our brain. So not just the logic, but also emotion and sensory areas. And that's why sort of stories help us feel, help us connect, and we can remember them. So Donella Meadows, really well-known author and pioneer in systems thinking, says in order to make sense of complexity, we have to tell stories that connect the dots in ways that have meaning. So this leads us on to have a little think about making sense of complexity. The systems we work in are complex, whether that is health, social, leisure, government, education. They're all made up of lots of interacting parts that are constantly changing, and that can make it really difficult to determine the outcomes. And stories are how we can break down those complexities and try and make a little bit more sense of it. So we're going to show you an example. You'll all recognise this Girl Can campaign. This campaign was originally created to address the gender gap in physical activity participation in women and girls. So we'll have a quick look. It's a 1-minute video, short and sweet.
Me again. Allow me to pick up where I left off.
Right, let's go, Mum.
Oh, the biggest phenomenon, and a Picasso with the pen. Just wanna talk that stuff till I hit him with the realness. To say some, but you don't want to hear me vent. 2, 3. You can talk bad all day long, I will never be impressed. Don't know what I did to make you feel that you be earning my respect. I follow the white rabbit, got a couple carrots, I know that I got bad habits. Trying to find a balance, I'm in the store like I wanna have it, I gotta have it. You are not the toughest or baddest, my pen is the maddest. I'm probably any provision, it's never right, I'm madness. May as well get a birthday cake and it ain't even my birthday. When I switch, then they wanna say that I'm a bitch.
You're not listening. You're not listening. I said it with my chest and I don't care who I offend.
So the video is using storytelling to look at those sort of barriers, the complex barriers faced by women in engaging in physical activity, whether it be sort of body confidence, work-life balance, family life, disabilities, and it sort of starts to give us that idea that there's no one reason and therefore there's no one answer, there's no one solution. So makes it relatable to, I can certainly see myself in that, and people I know in that, and that really helps us to feel the story and connect with it. The way we see the problem is the problem. So that leads us on to have a little think about shifting mindsets and reframing stories. So reframing is it's about changing the way people see things. It's not about changing the facts, it's about changing the focus, perhaps looking at things through a new lens. And reframing can really help us to shift the narrative. It can challenge assumptions and stuck mindsets, and really open up new perspectives. And the next slide is sort of an example of how reframe can help lead to change. Is perhaps a previous framing a narrative that was around physical education and activity in schools was potentially sort of kids don't get enough exercise, so schools need more PE. But reframed actually could that was reframed to say that movement can be embedded into the school day without needing more time, space or resources. And that reframing we already see has led to schools shifting to introduce things like the Daily Mile, energizers, active learning. So that's really helped in sort of making that change by shifting that mindset.
Often we approach our work in terms of what story is it that we're trying to tell. And it's coming almost from we want something to happen, or we've sort of got some information to share, and we think about what is the story that we're trying to transmit into the world. But a missed part often is to think first about what is the story that the world is already telling itself or already hearing. the first part of storytelling is really this idea of framing and reframing it, and it takes some real thought to think about, well, yes, this is the message that we want to transmit or to share or to connect with people on, but in terms of how are we going to tell that story, it is impacted fairly significantly by the story that they're already telling themselves.